Do you find yourself stuck in a negative loop of thinking and find yourself Googling every symptom that you feel? Well, if that is the case, then you are not alone. Many people with health anxiety experience this and they struggle to stop this cycle. However, what I'm going to be talking about in today's video is exactly how you can stop that cycle once and for all. Hello there, so my name is Kyle and I'm the founder of Heal Therapy, and I've been helping people overcome their fears, their anxieties, their phobias and problems of all kinds for over half a decade now. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to explain as to why the health anxiety cycle happens. Now, it's very easy to get caught up in the health anxiety cycle. In fact, I actually have a free ebook on this, which I will leave a link below to my website where you can download it for free to explain to you in a lot of detail as to why this cycle happens. But for now, I'll just give a brief overview. Remember, all anxiety is unresolved fear. So when there is this unresolved fear and it attaches itself to the thought, you then create this cycle of health anxiety. So it starts with a thought or a feeling or a symptom, and then it continues with the other two parts of that cycle. Hopefully that makes sense to you. So that's why the health anxiety cycle happens. But the thing is, knowing why isn't always the best way to overcome something, because you may know why something happens, but you don't know how to stop it. So think of health anxiety like this, and I'm sure you've had this thought before if you are an overthinker. But think about it. Why did you start overthinking in the first place? Like, what purpose did that overthinking have? And I think most people would actually answer that their overthinking is their brain's way of trying to protect itself. People start to overthink because they felt unsafe and they wanted to prepare themselves for every single possible outcome. Now, the problem with overthinking, and when it comes to health anxiety especially, is that you can't prepare for everything. You can't prepare for anything anyway. Think about it. If you're trying to give yourself reassurance by preparing for every single possible outcome, then your brain, you have a positive intention of keeping yourself safe. However, what you're actually doing, whether knowingly or unknowingly in that moment, is giving your power away to external events. Because what happens on the outside, you don't have control over. You may have a certain degree of control in certain areas, like your home and things like that. But as a rule of thumb, and as a rule of truth, as I like to call it, is that we have no control over the outside. For me, that is how it is. There is no control over the outside. The only thing we can control is on the inside. Now, the beauty of that is that when you change the inside, you actually change the outside at the same time. Because when you change the way that you look at things, and when you change the way you feel about things, you change the way that you look and feel about things on the outside also. The reason why this is all relevant, and the reason why I'm talking about this, is because a lot of people with health anxiety, they Google their symptoms, right? And when you Google your symptoms, that is on the outside of you. That's something that you research onto Google and find out additional information about your anxiety, or at least you're trying to find answers. You're trying to find answers to the anxiety. But this is all that is happening, guys. When you are overthinking and when you are experiencing that anxiety, you are just trying to find an answer with all of the best resources and tools available to you at that moment in time. You are just trying to find an answer, which is a perfectly normal thing to do. And there are hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people doing the same things as you every single day. So the important thing that I would like to emphasize here is that you are not alone, and trust me, I have been there myself, so I understand what it is like to experience that health anxiety cycle. Another thing I just quickly want to highlight are the consequences of giving your power away to external events. So the reason why I bring this up is because when people experience anxiety and when they experience health anxiety, a lot of the time they do not trust themselves. They lost that trust in themselves at some point in time. And when you lose trust in yourself, you then have uncertainty and you have no idea what's going on. And therefore, when you try to search for answers, You know, for example, when you go to the doctors and you're looking for their validation, or when you go onto a Facebook group and you post and you are looking for validation, if you go onto Google and you are trying to, rationalize your symptoms and to understand your symptoms, you are looking for external validation. So it's all looking for validation to make you feel validated, because what your brain is telling you is that once you feel validated, you will feel better. But this is the problem, guys. Like, this is the consequence of health anxiety. The validation is only, at best, a plaster over a cut that's infected. It doesn't need a plaster. It needs cleaning out. It needs some ointment put onto it, and it needs to be disinfected and actually sorted at its core. And I will get onto how to do that in a few moments time, in a few minutes time, but I just want to keep on this because I just want to talk a bit more about the consequences. And think about it like this, guys. I'm trying to add perspective for you watching this video, and chances are if you're watching this, you have health anxiety. So what you're doing when you are Googling symptoms and when you're giving away your power and you are looking for this external validation is you are actually just putting flames onto the fire of health anxiety. You think about it, you're stuck in this cycle of looking for that validation and then feeling bad, feeling scared, feeling fearful, feeling anxious, and then again looking for that validation to give you that short-term fix. It's a bit like a gambler, that sort of cycle that you find yourself in. And all the overthinking does, with all of its best intentions, all it is trying to do is to keep you safe, but really all it is doing is making you feel tired. It is making you feel exhausted. It is making you lose touch with your sense of reality, and it is probably making you unable to enjoy your life. There's a lot of problems there. All it does is it keeps you hyper fixated on all of the problems. This is the thing, guys. All of the problems, never the solution. For example, I remember speaking to a lady not too long ago, and she said to me that she has health anxiety. And I was like, oh, okay, how long have you had health anxiety for? And she said 30 years. And I said, 30 years you've had health anxiety? She was like, yep, I've had it as long as I can remember. I was like, okay. So, and after talking to her a bit more, I was like, well, what are you worried about? And the things that she was actually worried about, if they were happening when she first started thinking about it, they would have already happened. So I actually helped her link the two pieces together. I was like, well, surely if, you were worried about this thing happening, that would have happened. And then very quickly, she realized and she remembered that it was actually because she had an underlying fear, which I won't go into. But see, this is the thing, guys. It was so, for her, it was the story she was telling herself that, she had all of these health issues and she had all these problems. She was scared of this happening. All of these stories, it takes up so much mental space and bandwidth, as I like to call it, that she couldn't realize the answers that were right in front of her. So if there's anything that I want you to take away from this section, it is that overthinking actually gives your power away. Understand that it has a positive intention. However, the more overthinking that you do and the more trying to prepare yourself for the worst, the more exhausted you're going to feel and the more anxious you're going to feel. Because here's the thing, the problem is actually within the overthinking itself. Let me put it like this. If you knew for a fact that when you felt your symptom or when you felt anxious, that you knew for 100% truth that you would be okay, would you be okay with that? Now I'm going to go ahead and assume that you said, and you thought about it and you were like, yeah, I would be okay with that. Because my actual fear is, something else. It's not actually to do with the symptom. So by thinking about it from those terms and assuming that is the way that you answered the question, how can it be the symptom that is the problem? How can it be the thought itself that is the problem? It's the fear of the outcome. And this is the same with anything to do with fear. How often is it that you have faced your fear and afterwards that you feel so much better because you faced it? Now, health anxiety is no different. To feel that fear and to go into it is the way out of it. And I get it, guys. I do know. what it feels like to feel like you are dying. And the last thing that you want to do is go into that, right? But just remember this. Remember that story from the lady? She had health anxiety for 30 years. 30 years is a long time to have health anxiety and to be feeling like something is constantly wrong, even though there was never, ever any evidence to suggest that there was. It was just her convincing herself that she was sick. Now that's powerful. For me, that's very powerful. There's 30 years of time in there. And that's the thing, guys. When you experience this health anxiety, really what you're giving away is your time. And I'm going to go ahead and take a stab in the dark and guess that you don't want your time to be given away to anxiety, that you want to enjoy your time and you want to feel calm and you want to feel, all the good things in life and feel love and spend time with your friends and family and do the things that you enjoy. This anxiety is a waste of mental effort. So I've had a lot of you guys message me and request to know some techniques and strategies to stop overthinking and to stop Googling symptoms. So what I've put together is a list of 4 actionable points that you can do right away today and you can use this whenever you need to and whenever you like to. Now, just quickly, I'm not going to say that these are quick fixes or that these are going to cure your health anxiety like overnight. What I am saying is that these are actionable steps that you can use to help alleviate. Okay, the first step out of health anxiety is to stop feeding it. And the way that you do that is through your presence and through your awareness. When people experience health anxiety, they go up into their minds, okay? We don't want people just in their minds. Sometimes it's good to use your mind, but sometimes it's good to be inside of your body and to be in the present moment. How can there be anything wrong when you are in the present moment? Okay? The chances of there being something wrong when you are in the present moment are hundreds, if not thousands of times smaller. The chances are that you are just fine, okay? So, and that's what these techniques do. They help to bring you into the present moment. So my first actionable step to help you to stop overthinking and Googling symptoms, guys, is to just stop. Is to just stop doing it. And if you ever feel the need or desire, or you ever feel that the need to Google your symptom, just stop and ask yourself, why am I doing this? What is it that I am looking for? What am I trying to achieve here? And actually inquire to yourself about what your objective is. Is it really worth seeking that validation that really you're just gonna see something else that you haven't thought of before, and it's like, oh well, what if this happens? Then your mind will start puzzling these pieces together. Stop yourself in your tracks and just think before, what am I actually trying to achieve here? What's actually going on? Do I just feel anxious in this moment? How do I know I feel anxious? Ask yourself these inquisitive questions. Be curious, become curious about it. And I get it, guys, I get it. Sometimes you do not want to be curious, and you may even watch this video and be like, oh, I don't want to do that, Carl. I get it, but that is the way forward, I promise you. So it may sound simple for me to just stop and do it, but just stop and don't do it. But when you feel yourself feeling that need to Google a symptom, just take a deep breath and ask yourself, what am I trying to achieve here? Just give yourself a moment and actually label what you're experiencing as just as anxiety. I think that people don't actually give themselves time to feel anxiety. A lot of the time, we don't want to feel negative emotions. We don't want to feel sad. We don't want to feel upset. We don't want to feel anxious about our health. But sometimes if you just sit there and feel anxious or you feel sad, then you feel that emotion and then it's gone. I'm sure you've all had a good cry at some point in your life. When you have a really good cry afterwards, you feel so much better, right? That's because you allowed yourself that time to cry. So why not allow yourself time to just feel anxious? Just give yourself that time and permission to feel anxious just for a moment, to label it as so, to keep your power with you, to feel that in that moment, and to just feel anxious without any judgment and just experience it for what it is. That is such a powerful thing. Instead of running away, actually feeling it and embracing it is such a powerful step that you can use to help stop feeling health anxiety so much and so so powerfully, so overwhelmingly. So the next thing that you can do to help alleviate your health anxiety, and I will share this with you guys, this is a golden nugget, and this is probably worth thousands of pounds that I learned on my training, and it's actually called reframing, right? So I'm happy to share the technique with you. So when you reframe, basically what we do with our thoughts is, so with people with health anxiety, it's I feel this because of this. I feel chest pain because there's something seriously wrong, right? There's just two thoughts that have been placed together, right? And what that does is once that is set in motion, this can now, join in with other, negative thoughts, if you like, right? So what we do in the therapy and what this technique is, it's called reframing. So what you do with a reframe is you just change one of these pieces. So if it's I feel pain and something is seriously wrong, it could be I feel pain, I've eaten some unhealthy food and I have indigestion, right? I've just got gas, right? They are so much more manageable, right? If you think that something is seriously wrong and you need to go to the doctors and you feel this pain is getting really intense and you go down that path, that route, it's going to be intense. But if you think, oh, it's just gas, it's just indigestion, right? How much more manageable is that? You have a little burp and you're sorted, you feel so much better. So, and you can use that with any thought that you have in any area of your life, that whole reframing thing. The key to achieving a result with a reframe is to believe it, okay? So it's one thing thinking a certain way, but another thing to believe it. You have to believe it. And to believe it, you need to give yourself some kind of evidence. So you could always ask yourself, well, if something is seriously wrong, what evidence do I actually have of that happening? One of the things that I say to my clients sometimes when they say to me something's seriously wrong, I say, well, okay, so if something's seriously wrong, if you were to go to court and you were to go in front of a whole judiciary and prove and provide evidence for your case that something is seriously wrong, what evidence would you provide in supporting that claim that something is seriously wrong? And most of the time people look back at me with like a blank stare and they smile or something like that because they haven't got the evidence. That's the key thing here. And if you haven't got that evidence, then why not believe that it's just indigestion? Why not believe that it's just a niggling pain? Why not believe that it's just a normal bodily sensation? Why not? I cannot emphasize that enough. That when you do that, guys, you bring your power back within yourself. You keep that power. And that's kind of the theme of today's video, because I really want to emphasize that when you keep your inner power, when you keep yourself, when you keep your vision, you can prevent yourself from experiencing health anxiety, or you can talk yourself out of having health anxiety and going down that route. Okay, so it's keeping on to that inner power and keeping on to that spark of life that's inside you. Another little thing that you could say to yourself is to remember that not every thought that you have is true. Like, how many thoughts have you had in your life that have turned out to be not true? It's probably 90%, if I'm going to take a guess. A lot of people would disagree with me there, but I would say it's very, very high. It's very high. And it's no different with health anxiety. And just remind yourself that just because you have a thought doesn't mean that it's going to happen. It is just a thought. And if you can remind yourself that it is just a thought, then you can reduce that anxiety, you can keep your power, and you can just deal with these, you can deal with health anxiety and make it manageable.